Hey folks, this is Riker, and what Microsoft is doing to Blizzard is not what a lot of people hoped. World of Warcraft's vice president has shed some light on the relationship. We'll talk about that in this video, but we'll also talk about how Ubisoft is making the Star Wars Outlaws situation worse, and what the boss of Helldivers refuses to add to the game. But let's start with some rapid fire news. First, we're approaching the early access launch of Hades 2, and signups have started for the technical test, which will begin shortly. Sign up links in the description if you want to participate. Hades 1 was a great roguelite, and I look forward to Hades 2. Baldur's Gate 3 developer Larian has confirmed that they are working on 2 new projects, and the CEO has said, quote, "I don't know if we're going to pull it off, but looking at our narrative, visual, and gameplay plans, I think what we're working on will be our best work ever. We know they're done with the Baldur's Gate franchise, so it's not going to be Baldur's Gate 4. We also got confirmation that Diablo 4's Season 4 start date is still May 14th, and that there's still a few small things we don't know about the season yet. This was confirmed by Pez Radar, who additionally said, quote, "I think most people have seen some of the things that got out regarding the season in PTR." He's referring to the season theme that we seem to have figured out. I have a video on that over here. We will add some light to those items in the upcoming stream. A majority of the work has been built around the theme of this new season, which is Loot Reborn, as this is greatly changing the game going forward in both Eternal and Seasonal, and is the start of a new D4 experience as we head into Vessel of Hatred and beyond. No date yet for the dev stream, but I'm going to guess May 2nd. Before we continue, I'd like to talk a minute about this video's sponsor, No Rest for the Wicked, an ARPG that just hit early access. No Rest for the Wicked is looking to revolutionize the ARPG genre. Rather than constant explosions on screen, they're going for more Souls-like, methodical, deliberate, skill-based combat. They're tossing aside classes. Instead, there's a soft class system where you basically build your own class based on how you allocate your stat points, what weapons and armor you take. Basically, all your build choices builds your class. But there's still classic ARPG systems like robust itemization and crafting with different item rarities, which all remain relevant. White items are not trash, but rather fully craftable and customizable. There's even cursed items that give you big buffs, but also come with some kind of a downside. Instead of randomly generated maps, you have one gorgeous handcrafted world that you can fully navigate with traversal puzzles and everything. You need to jump and climb to get places sometimes, and you can even fall or knock enemies off ledges. There's still randomization when you return to previous zones. Different monsters and treasures will spawn in different places. There's lots of exploration, there's resource gathering, there's a housing system. They're going to bring in co-op, PvP, endgame pinnacle content to challenge your build. This game has a lot of promise. Check it out on Steam, link in the description. We also had this week the reveal video of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Unfortunately, it was accidentally uploaded to IGN's video player the day before the intended release. Oops. Sucks for the devs when journalistic outlets break embargo, intentionally or not. The game is coming out this year, and the reveal video is a juicy 14-minute dev blog with gameplay, and they did this whole cinematic shoot filmed on location at a cathedral in Gutenberg, the city that the majority of the game will take place in. This sequel to this ARPG is confirmed to be twice as big as the first game. Now, following up on some Ubisoft bad news from last week, we were talking about the reveal pricing of Star Wars Outlaws and its super expensive editions. Well, people became even more pissed when they realized that included in the super expensive edition was a Day 1 Battle Pass that unlocked a special Jabba the Hutt mission. In other words, in this single-player game was a Jabba the Hutt mission that you could only access if you paid extra money. If you're not familiar with Star Wars, Jabba the Hutt is, he's kind of a big deal. Especially in a game about outlaws and smuggling and all that. But then, Ubisoft addressed the outrage by saying, quote, "To clarify, Jabba the Hutt and the Hutt Cartel are one of the main syndicates in Star Wars Outlaws, and will be part of the experience for everyone who purchases the game, regardless of edition. The Jabba's Gambit mission is an optional, additional mission with the Hutt Cartel along Kay and Nyx's journey across the Outer Rim. This mission will be available to those who purchase the Season Pass or an edition of the game which includes the Season Pass." Now, I don't know about you guys, but this has some massive Scott's Tots energy. Wait, hold on. It's not the only Jabba the Hutt mission. Yeah, this doesn't exactly make it better. Now, I know there's a whole meme that in the modern age, when devs are making a game, they chop away parts of it to sell back to us later as DLC. And while I'm not saying there's no truth to this, I think it's generally more that there may be content that they didn't prioritize finishing in time for launch. So instead of finishing it before launch, they finish it after launch and then sell it to you. I think that's generally the more common situation, but in this case, the content is literally available on day one. It's ready. What they're basically doing is, here's the price for 99% of the game, and here's another price for 100% of the game. Now, some good news coming out of the Microsoft Blizzard acquisition, or maybe it's good? Well, maybe it's bad at this point. Holly Longdale, executive producer and vice president of World of Warcraft, discussed in a recent interview with VGC that Microsoft is taking a very hands-off approach with Blizzard. She said, quote, "There's no one asking us to do anything. World of Warcraft is doing very well, and they're very proud of what it's been able to accomplish. So it's almost like, just let it be, and let it keep being awesome. They've been tremendously supportive, and it's like, let Blizzard be Blizzard." And while that sounds great at first, after all, it was Activision interference that can be blamed for a lot of what went wrong with Blizzard, what does let Blizzard be Blizzard mean when Blizzard hasn't been Blizzard for a long time now? Blizzard doesn't know how to be Blizzard anymore. All the people that made Blizzard are gone. Although I guess Chris Metzen's back, and that's wonderful, so there is hope there. But the more you think about it, the more you think, well, now wait a minute, didn't we hope that Microsoft was going to come in and fix Blizzard? Didn't we hope they would be more hands-on to help correct what Activision did? I don't know. It is true that Microsoft tends to be hands-off with its gaming studios, sometimes to their detriment, actually. Now, I don't think this is necessarily a bad thing for Blizzard, but it's not as much of a cause to celebrate as it would have been years ago. Now, an interesting survey came out this week from the Game Developer Collective. Apparently, game devs themselves are having some serious concerns about the live service model. They interviewed 600 developers between February and March of this year, and 70% of those devs are unsure about the sustainability of live service games. Now, they define the live service model to be a game that gets frequent updates and in-app purchases. 31% of the surveyed devs were very concerned about current live service business models, while another 39% were mildly concerned. Only 29% either had no concerns or just weren't sure. And 45% of devs think that the live service model is having a negative impact on the industry, while 44% have a mixed view. That leaves very few who think it's a positive for the industry. And their main concern revolves around the model's sustainability. Either players are going to lose interest, or players will get stolen away from their game by other games, or it's just too difficult to keep players engaged in the long term. And if your monetization model revolves around having a steady supply of income on a regular basis, these can all be catastrophic for your game. I think from a player perspective, we've come to be fed up, or from a consumer perspective, we're just fed up with this live service model because the industry has largely been using it as a monetization ploy. They come to live service because they're trying to figure out how to make as much money as possible, not because they're trying to make the game as fun as possible or as good as possible. Of course, this isn't true for every game and every company, but it's true enough that we're oversaturated with live service games. I think Helldivers 2 is the best example of a live service game done right. It's a game that justifies being a live service. Helldivers has an ongoing meta-narrative. Got this galactic war where the devs give the community missions and a few days to complete them, and then depending on our success or failure, or how quickly we succeed, that can affect what the next order is. And these missions evolve in an ongoing story, which includes content drops as part of it. New enemies emerge, new weapons become available to us. It all feels very organic as part of their content rollout. It's a game that cannot exist without its live service model, or at least it would be a shell of what it is now. And its monthly battle passes, they never expire. There's no fear of missing out. You could take 3 years to complete a battle pass if you want, and you can farm the premium currency just by playing the game. In fact, if you play enough, I'm pretty sure you can earn your battle pass for free every month without too much effort. I mean, just a couple days ago, we got a new mission type: eliminate factory striders. These enemies had been introduced a couple weeks back, but Not too many players had gone to see them, as they only appeared on higher difficulties, and once you repelled the automatons from the galaxy, they disappeared entirely. But now the devs brought them back as part of the new invasion force, with a new mission type to explicitly hunt them down. These massive AT-AT-like walking terrors that poop out bots and gun you down from 8 miles away. After successfully holding off the automaton invasion, our new major orders came in. We were given 6 days to kill 2 billion Terminids. Well, that seemed like a monumental task, but after 1 hour, the community had already reached 2% completion. After 4 hours, we were at 20% done, and by 6 hours, 47% done. Yeah, they gave us 6 days to kill 2 billion bugs. We got it done in less than 24 hours. Now, some will tell you there was some bug that was triple counting our kills, which made progress go much faster than intended, but that's just anti-democratic propaganda. We got a patch this week with various bug fixes, but most of the glaring ones are still there for now, like the damage over time bug or the misaligned scopes. And we actually got a post from the associate community manager on why it's taking so long for fixes. It's a huge fix that is taking up a lot of developer time related to how damage entities are spawned and shared amongst multiple players. Requires an overhaul of multiple systems, but we've identified the cause and it's actively being worked on. Fire damage was likely overtuned as a direct result of this bug, so it's being looked into again and reassessed for the next major build. Great to see them acknowledge that they overtuned fire damage. Then on the Discord server he added, most of the bugs in the known issues list in the patch notes are actively being worked on, but they're either large fixes that require a bit of time or low priority issues behind other things. And most should be patched in the next major build. It's difficult to maintain our cadence of 1 war bond per month while also fixing major technical glitches in time for the next patch. He later added in response to a comment saying that they should just focus on fixing bugs and stop releasing content. Arrowhead still has a very small team compared to the success of the game, and while we have dedicated QA, the people fixing bugs with weapons and armor, for example, are the same people in charge of making new weapons and armor. It's important to us to maintain the cadence that we promised, 1 war bond per month, but equally important to everyone to fix the glaring bugs and technical issues. There's just only so much time in a work week. And while I would love to see the bugs fixed, it's possible that Helldivers would not have had such great player retention without its rapid content updates. And even according to a poll within their Discord server, players voted that the number one thing they wanted was different objectives, modifiers, biomes, and planets, with bug fixes only coming in second. And while the devs did start the hiring process to expand their roughly 100-man team to bring on new team members just after the game launched, it takes a long time to onboard people. First off, just to hire people, to find the right people, then to go through the whole onboarding process. And this is all made much more difficult because the game is built on an ancient, defunct engine, so they're probably having a hard time finding anyone with any experience in the engine, or otherwise having to train them on the new engine. We also got a community poll about the marksman rifles, and a whopping 77% of people voted that they need a rebalance because they're underpowered, with 0% voting that they are overpowered. So hopefully we see some buffs there in the future. We also got some bad news about transmog. It's not going to happen. Transmog is when you change the appearance of your armor to look like other armor, and the CEO is against it. He said, quote, "We are not doing transmog. It doesn't make sense. Equipment looks different because it has different effects. Swapping one for the other is like having an apple that tastes like bacon or the other way around." I can respect his stance on not wanting transmog, but I do have to point out that some of the armors, especially some of the newer ones, don't exactly look like what their effects would suggest. For instance, try to guess what each of these armors do. All of them give you 2 extra grenades. Now, if you paid attention to any of the data mine leaks, I personally have tried to avoid them. The devs have warned players not to fall in love with anything that was data mined because it may not make it into the final game. They described some of the stuff as ancient leftovers. We see this in other games as well, something that was in development at some point, then cut, but the files weren't removed from the game. But one thing that may come is more melee weapons. Community manager Twinbeard confirmed that melee weapons are still branded as plausible, but that we shouldn't expect something like a lightsaber, both from a tech level, like They want to maintain a very specific kind of technology within their setting, but they also don't want to do any crossover events, so you're not going to see a literal lightsaber either. They just care very much about the lore and consistency of their world. Then some crazy stuff has been happening in the Fallout world. The Amazon series released, and despite everyone thinking it was going to be terrible, I hear it's really good. I look forward to watching it myself. I gotta finish watching The Last of Us first. Yeah, I'm behind, okay? But in the meantime, the series' success has caused a resurgence in popularity of the Fallout games. Sales of Fallout games across Europe rose, with 2015's Fallout 4 being the best-selling game of the week in Europe, ahead of Helldivers 2, which is in second place. In 8th place was Fallout 76, New Vegas in 9th, and Fallout 3 in 10th place. It's kind of insane, especially since Fallout 4 is also available for free on Xbox Game Pass and PlayStation Plus. On Steam, concurrent player numbers have doubled across pretty much every Fallout title. And the free-to-play Fallout Shelter, the mobile spin-off that's actually a pretty fun management sim, has seen its daily revenue jump from $20,000 to $80,000 a day. Now, I've seen a ton of ads for Fallout Shelter recently, which I'm sure has helped, but it just goes to show the synergistic impact that an actual good video game TV series can have. Cross-media is great when it's done well, and it needs the involvement of the people who care about the franchise. But what do you folks think about everything we spoke about today? Sound off in the comments, because that's going to wrap up this week's video, but do be sure to watch last week's video, which we discussed more of what is potentially the data mined Season 4 of Diablo 4. Thanks for watching. Special thanks to my supporters for making these videos possible. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe to join Riker's Raiders for more gaming content.